In Korea, a famous web novel called 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse used to be extremely popular, but after 10 years and over 1,000 chapters, it only has one reader left. Dokja started reading it in middle school and keeps reading it now as an adult. In the story, the protagonist Jung Hyuk fights the hardships sent by the gods as the world nears collapse. His companions fall one by one, but he's always determined to become stronger. Dokja finds this inspiring, and rereading the novel helped him push through his high school years while he was harassed by mean classmates. After finishing school, Dokja went to a mediocre college, worked some mediocre jobs, and joined a big company on a temporary contract. Today that contract ends, and so does the novel. After his final shift is over, Dokja reads the last chapter and is disappointed by the ending because Jung Hyuk is the only survivor. He decides to send a message to the author, saying that this story is the worst. On the train, Dokja bumps into his co-worker Sanga, whose contract has ended too. Their chat is interrupted by their former boss Myung-oh, who keeps hitting on Sanga no matter how many times she keeps saying no. Thankfully he gets off the train at the next stop. At that moment Dokja is surprised to get a reply from the author. The message thanks Dokja for reading until the end and admits he was the only reason why it was finished. The author says that if Dokja hated the ending, he should try writing his own when the service starts at 7 p.m. Suddenly the train shakes and comes to a stop while a voice announces that the Planetary System 8612's free service has ended, so this is the start of paid content. Dokja checks his phone and confirms it's 7 p.m. and realizes this is exactly how the novel starts. A creature from Korean folklore called Dakabi appears on the train. When a passenger starts insulting it, the Dakabi shoots him in the head with its laser eyes. The man falls dead and everyone panics, only for the creature to shut everyone up with a scary face. Then the Dakabi announces that the gods have decided that humans are horrible beings, so they deserve to be punished. All humans will be given a stage and how they solve it will decide their fate. Soon holograms explaining the first stage appear around the passengers. In 10 minutes, they must kill one or more living organisms in the train car. Those who succeed will get 300 coins, and those who fail will be killed. The Dakabi also says that the constellations will always be watching. On the bridge, the train is frozen and so are all the cars. As the hologram starts a 10-minute timer, the passengers check their phones and discover there's no service. Soon people lose their minds and begin to fight each other, sometimes teaming up against one person. A woman panics and tries to escape to another car, but there's a field force at the doors that's keeping them trapped. When Dokja looks at the other car, he's shocked to notice Jung Hyuk in the crowd. He realizes they're living the events of the novel, which means he knows the future. A giant monster appears in the river and hits the train, causing everyone to get stuck in the ceiling. Dokja remembers that the rules say they must kill any living organism, it doesn't have to be humans. There's a kid called Gil Young with an ant farm, so Dokja grabs it and takes it to Sanga. He gives her some ants before trying to talk to the crowd, but nobody pays attention to him. When Dokja kills an ant, a hologram appears saying that he's won the coins, which finally gets everyone's attention. He tells them about the ants, but he doesn't have enough for everyone. As everyone complains, Myung-oh steals the ant farm from him, and the crowd surrounds him instead. There's still a guy beating up an old lady, so Dokja tackles him and offers him an ant that got stuck on his hand. However, the guy turns him down, saying he wants to kill the lady. Dokja realizes this is Nam Woon, one of the characters from the novel. Nam Woon starts beating Dokja up, saying he'll be his victim instead. As Dokja tries his best to protect himself, he remembers that in the novel, humans have stats like in video games. He uses the 300 coins to increase his strength and punches Nam Woon, sending him flying across the car. Nam Woon responds by activating his Grimdark Awakening skill, which allows him to easily overpower Dokja in seconds. At that moment, the crowd accidentally drops the ant farm and a tube of eggs rolls out. Dokja destroys it and receives a huge payment in coins. He spends 3,000 on stamina and another 3,000 on agility, so he dodges all of Nam Woon's attacks and knocks him down. A terrified Nam Woon promises not to hurt the old lady and asks for an ant, but Dokja says he doesn't deserve to be in the story. Then Dokja runs to act as a shield for the woman since Nam Woon is trying to attack her again. Dokja puts an ant in the lady's hand and closes it to crush it before the timer reaches 0. The voice announces that the stage is over and all the losers get a hole in their faces to kill them. Unfortunately, the last ant has managed to escape and the lady dies as well. The Dakabi reappears and congratulates the 17 humans who passed. Now it's time for them to get gifts from the constellations for their performance. Dokja remembers that the constellations are powerful beings that watch the stages from space and enjoy laughing at human struggles. Each passenger gets a list of the constellations that want to sponsor them and they must choose one, but someday that debt must be paid back. Dokja decides to turn down sponsorship for now. Suddenly the train starts falling on its side because the river monster is trying to drag it down. A former soldier is trying to open the doors and Dokja recognizes him as the character Yunsung. As the train starts to touch the water, Dokja teaches Yunsung how to use special skills. Yunsung activates super strength that allows him to bend the doors open. Everyone quickly climbs out while Dokja notices that Gil Young is still in the car crying over his ant farm. Dokja apologizes and brings him out. As the survivors run as fast as possible, the voice announces the new stage. They must successfully cross the bridge. The monster smashes a section of the bridge to create a huge gap before going back to the river. To make the task more difficult, the Dakabi drops a train car on the bridge and makes all the dead people chase after the living players. Dokja and Yunsung try to fight them, but they're easily overpowered. At that moment, Songa manages to activate her skill, which creates a temporary road across the gap. The survivors start running on it to escape, and Dokja informs them that poisonous gas will spread soon, so they need to get underground. He thinks that they should go to the nearest subway station, but he then remembers that in the novel, Jung Hyuk dies there while fighting a dragon. He used his skill to go back to the beginning of the story, and everyone else in the station died. If they want to survive, they must keep Jung Hyuk alive so he won't reset, and Dokja thinks he can help him using his knowledge of the future. Meanwhile, Jung Hyuk is using a sword and a gun to bring all the attackers down. Then he approaches Dokja and asks him what he did, since Nam Woon wasn't supposed to die so soon. Dokja shares what will happen in the station and pretends he has a prophecy skill. Jung Hyuk holds him by his tie over the edge as he asks him what tactics to use. Dokja panics and doesn't know what to answer, so Jung Hyuk tells him to meet him later in the station before dropping him in the water. The monster swallows Dokja and he lands in its stomach. The hologram announces a new stage. He must kill the monster and escape. The Dakabi is also there narrating things for the stream, so Dokja shocks it by calling it by its name, Bai Hyung. He also knows that Bai Hyung is a 9th level Dakabi, and doing the streams means it can ascend one day. Dokja points out that he's probably very popular among the constellations right now, so if he dies, Bai Hyung will receive backlash. Bai Hyung checks its donations and confirms that the Watchers love Dokja, so it agrees to sign an exclusivity contract. Then the monster's stomach starts filling with acid. Dokja asks for the Dakabi shop and buys a bunch of spikes to block the acid ducts, which is something he learned from the novel. By blocking all the ducts, the monster will die, however there are hundreds of them. Dokja refuses to give up and keeps working until all the ducts are covered, which finally kills the beast and ends the stage. Afterward, Dokja inserts his hand into the monster's skin and brings out its nucleus. He asks Bai Hyung to trade it at the shop for a very rare item called Ether of Faith. Before Dokja leaves, Bai Hyung gives him an item starter pack, which includes a mask. Dokja puts it on before going outside, since the poisonous gas is already in the area. He collapses on the shore and starts getting lots of sponsorship offers from constellations, so he turns the notifications off. Next, Dokja stops at a store to get some food and finds some bodies. 2 girls are already dead and the third one is barely alive. Suddenly a monster breaks the window, so Dokja picks up the survivor and starts running down the street. The creature chases after them, destroying everything on its path. Dokja manages to slide into the subway station and brings down the gate just in time for the monster to crash into it. In the corridor, a group of thugs appears and they're surprised to see that the girl Hee-won is alive. Dokja remembers this from the novel. These guys beat up and abused Hee-won. He spends 1,500 coins on strength and starts beating the men up. The leader activates his skill to attack, but Dokja easily dodges all his moves and defeats him too. When the rest of the thugs are about to attack together, a bunch of survivors show up with In-ho at the front. This causes the thugs to leave. The group from the train is also here, and Songa tells him that In-ho is a congressman. He leads the survivors in the station by convincing high-level people to go hunting and share the coins with the residents. Meanwhile, Gil Young has acquired a skill that lets him befriend insects. Dokja asks about Jung Hyuk, but he isn't there, which makes him wonder if his decisions have changed the story from the novel. At that moment, some men remind the residents that in 3 hours they must pay the survival fee. The high-level players charge that to keep everyone protected until the monster in the tunnels is defeated. Some people are desperate enough to go hunting for the money, but others die on the spot. A crowd surrounds Dokja and asks him to share his coins since they know he has a lot. When he asks who said that, In-ho admits he did. He assumed Dokja was rich because he saw him use great abilities to fight. In-ho apologizes for being rude and asks Dokja to help the desperate residents, but this makes Dokja remember that he's a bad guy from the novel, so he refuses to give him anything. It turns out In-ho sold himself to the constellations and gave up his humanity, so he's become a monster. The crowd goes crazy, so Dokja agrees to help by finishing the stage instead of giving them the money. Dokja puts together a weapon with random scraps and his team goes down the tunnel. Hee-won shares how the thugs killed people to take their coins, then they brought them to the station pretending they got them from hunting monsters. Dokja knows she was supposed to die in the store. The tunnel is very dark, so Gil Young summons tons of fireflies to light the place up. Soon a horde of monsters appears and a vicious battle begins. Most of the team uses weapons and quickly kills the creatures as they come. Songa realizes that her skill is shooting web, so she uses that to attack. Unfortunately, the last standing monster captures her and takes her away. The group chases after them and finds Songa tied up at the end of the tunnel. A hologram welcomes them to the ground rat's shrine and tells them to eliminate the Warden of the Dark. A bigger monster appears and Dokja moves first, dodging the creature's tentacles before hitting it with his weapon. However, a force field blocks him and sends him flying. Yunsung moves next and his blows do land on the beats, causing it to jump on the ceiling. Then it activates Illusory Prison, which captures the body and ravages the mind. If someone gets caught in it, they'll relive their most horrific memories and die. The skill manages to trap Hee-won, who watches the memory of her and her friends getting caught by In-ho with his thugs. Luckily Dokja manages to free her from it. Then he runs to get Gil-young before he gets captured too. Unfortunately Yeon-sung is caught and starts seeing the worst memories from his days in the army. Dokja tries to save him too, but his attack is blocked, although it drops some little rocks. Suddenly the monster roars to summon his minions. Dokja calls Bae-hyung to open the shop and tries to buy White Star Pure Energy, but he's 1,000 coins short. Meanwhile Hee-won keeps fighting the monsters, and with a big jump she manages to land on the back of the boss. Dokja follows her example and starts killing creatures until he earns the money he needs. The White Star is inserted in his weapon, which gives him a one-time critical hit. Dokja copies Hee-won's jump and slashes the back of the Horde dealer, finally killing it. The Horde runs away and the illusion disappears, so Yeon-sung is free from his memories. Dokja remembers from the novel that Yeon-sung is haunted by the guilt of not being able to save his friends. The group checks the treasure chest they got for finishing the mission. Hee-won gets 2 short swords, Yeon-sung gets a gauntlet, Gil-young receives a helmet that improves his bug skill, Song-a gets a mysterious coat, and Dokja gets a broken sword. The others are confused, but Dokja doesn't tell them that this is the broken faith. If he finds an ether of faith, the sword will be complete. Gil-young asks about the rocks that fell during the fight, so Dokja explains that if he eats them, they'll put his mind in an illusion. The station stage isn't finished yet because there's one monster left. The group rushes back and Hee-won quickly jumps on the gang's leader to finally kill him as revenge. In-ho sends out the rest of his men, so Hee-won gets a new skill from a constellation, which allows her to slice through all the thugs in just a few seconds to defeat them all. In-ho has no choice but to fight and punches a column to show off his strength. His arm becomes monstrous before he attacks Hee-won with his mighty power, but she still keeps up with him and pushes him to the rails. When she's about to kill him, the residents stop her. They explain that they don't clear this stage because they're afraid the next one will be harder, so it's easier to pay the daily fee. They'd hoped that Dokja's group would get killed by the monster so they could collect their coins. The voice announces it's time to pay soon, so In-ho uses the distraction to push Hee-won off and run away. Song-a shoots her web and Hee-won swing across the tunnel to catch up. However, when she's about to touch him, a force field throws her back. In-ho mocks them for losing, but suddenly he's shot in the head by a sniper, ending the stage. The sniper introduced herself as Jie before getting all of In-ho's coins. The team tries to leave, but the barrier still blocks them, so Jie explains they only finished the stage from the previous section and during the chase they crossed into a new one. To leave, they have to finish the new stage. Jie leaves and Dokja realizes she's another character. She's the only survivor from her class and Jung-hyuk's apprentice. In the station, the voice announces that this area has 104 survivors and they have 10 minutes to reach green zones before the monsters get them. There are only 52 green zones and they're tiny, so people start fighting for a spot. A gang led by Pil-do has closed up a VIP area and they charge coins for the spots. Pil-do has used those coins to buy a security system that shoots at people who try to sneak into the VIP area without paying. Dokja tells the team to split and look for green zones. Jie reappears with a message from Jung-hyuk for him. He agrees to fight together, but Dokja will have to leave his group and survive alone for the night. Dokja remembers how a friend in high school slapped him so the harassers wouldn't bother him, saying that at least one person should survive. Using his knowledge, Dokja goes to a specific spot that hasn't turned on yet. Bae-hyung appears to announce that some green zones will vanish and new ones will appear to add more tension. The spot under Dokja turns green and he tells his team to fight others for survival. However, Hee-won chooses to fight the monsters instead. The 10 minutes run out and the beasts appear in the station to kill every person who isn't on a green spot. The others decide to help Hee-won and after some hesitation, Dokja follows them as well. He thinks that green zones will appear in the most dangerous places to make the show more entertaining, so the group splits to go to the monster portals. The beasts keep killing people on the main platform, but Dokja's team manages to hold their own with their skills. To Dokja's surprise, Jung-hyuk is waiting by one of the portals, just watching him fight the monsters while protecting Gil-young. The green zone here is for 2 people and Jung-hyuk is taking one spot. He says he'll only fight the monster with Dokja if he abandons the kid. On the other portal, the others find a 3-person green zone, so they save themselves from the horde. Dokja refuses to abandon Gil-young and leaves him in the green zone with Jung-hyuk before running away. He keeps all the monsters' attention on him and when they tackle him, he eats a glowing rock. His body is taken to the illusion prison, saving him from the beast's attacks. Sadly, this also makes him watch the time he fought his best friend to satisfy his harassers. Dokja won the fight that day and later learned the other boy self-deleted, so he's been feeling guilty since then. He hated the ending of the novel because Jung-hyuk sacrificed people to save himself. Dokja wants an ending where the hero can survive with his loved ones. Suddenly Jung-hyuk uses a skill to enter the illusion and says Dokja should have fought his harassers instead of his friend. Jung-hyuk admits he used to think like Dokja, but after dozens of battles, he learned that humans are trash. In the morning, Dokja wakes up and discovers his team brought him to a private room while he was unconscious. They fought the monsters to protect him and Yunsung got wounded in the process. Dokja realizes that today is the day that Yunsung fights the dragon, so he'll have to die instead to save him. The voice announces that today there are 57 survivors. Bai Hyung informs them that the constellations are angry because some people helped each other instead of fighting, so as punishment they'll only get one green zone. Whoever is standing on it when the timer ends will win. The green zone appears under Pildu, who doesn't look bothered. Dokja tells Jie that he has a plan and asks for her help, but she refuses. To make her feel bad, he mentions how she killed her classmates to win the first stage. Jie cries but leaves anyway. Then Dokja calls Bai Hyung, who confirms the constellations love him and are donating tons of money. Dokja asks Bai Hyung to transform all the money into coins and approaches Pildu, offering to hire him with all his coins. Pildu takes the deal and passes the glowing square to Dokja, who starts smashing it with his sword. The crowd tries to stop him, but Jie finally understands and shoots the green zone to destroy it. The light goes out and Dokja points out that if everyone had fought together since the beginning, nobody would have died. He transfers the money to Pildu to finish their deal, asking him to protect everyone. Pildu allows the crowd to enter his VIP zone for free, then he brings out all the weapons he bought for his security system. When the monsters come out, Pildu opens fire and soon there are piles of creature bodies by the portal. Some creatures manage to escape the bullets, only to be brought down by Dokja, Sangha, and Hwon. At that moment the ground opens and a dragon appears, breathing fire on people to kill them. With a combination of gun and sword, Jung Hyuk easily fights the dragon and strikes him several times. The constellations aren't happy that a high-level player has arrived, so they raise the difficulty. Suddenly the station shatters and appears in outer space. The dragon transforms its body into something steel-like, which wasn't in the novel. Jung Hyuk tries to attack it and his sword gets shattered, so he summons a new one and tries again. The dragon quickly overpowers him and stabs him with his own weapon. This doesn't stop Jung Hyuk from trying over and over again. Dokja opens his starter kit and swallows an item that will protect him from the flames. Sangha uses her web to drag Jung Hyuk out of the monster's grasp and Dokja takes over the fight. The dragon keeps bringing him down, but at least its fire does nothing. While the dragon's distracted, a huge monster tackles it to the ground. It turns out that since this creature is a bug, Gil Young can control it, although he feels the pain that the monster does. Unfortunately the dragon is too strong and is beating the bug up, which may kill Gil Young soon. Yunsung refuses to lose another friend and rushes to fight, which awakens his special skill. The gauntlet transforms into a shield that stops the dragon's attacks and the ground rises to block it. Then Sangha creates a web bridge for Hwon to jump on. She lands on the dragon's back to slash its body a few times. Now Yunsung can break through the wall to push the dragon down and Dokja tries to stab it, however the dragon flies up to escape. A flashback reveals that the plan is to stab the dragon's core to kill it, but that will also kill the attacker. The mission reward will give them an item to revive one person. Sangha shoots web again and restrains the dragon while Dokja jumps to finally stab it in the chest, but the sword doesn't go through. Jie shoots the dragon's chest to make a crack, only for the monster to push Dokja off. The chest closes the wound and the team loses all hope. Suddenly Jung Hyuk finishes killing the rest of the monsters and fights the dragon again. After exchanging a few blows, he manages to pierce the core, and the dragon's breath covers them both in fire. Just like the novel, Jung Hyuk's flaming body falls to the ground and his skill activates to send him back. Dokja watches how everyone is starting to disappear and thinks it's over. At that moment, he's shocked to see that the author has accepted his trade in the market and has sent him the Ether of Faith. Dokja immediately puts it in his sword to transform it into the attribute weapon. The rest of the team surrounds the dragon and keeps it distracted, giving Dokja time to jump on it and finally kill it. The voice announces that the stage is over and Dokja revives Jung Hyuk with a reward. The station turns back to normal and Jung Hyuk is surprised to see that Dokja survived the dragon's death, thanks to the special sword. The crowd celebrates and now Dokja is sure they can write a new ending for the story. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.